Hey guys, so I have an exciting project today. I'm working on a new art journal, and believe it or not, I am going to create it out of this old cell phone case. And I'm specifically creating this journal for my daughter. And what's gonna be included in it is kind of like a heritage of our Acadian culture, so that she can, have a little keepsake for herself growing up and kind of revert back so she can understand all there is to learn about our French Acadian culture. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you guys watch Nick the Booksmith. She's awesome. She's got a YouTube channel, and I got this idea from her. She actually created these cool little embellishments for one of her journals, the cover. So that's what I'm working on. I'm going to work on a cover, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it exactly like her. I've kind of always liked to put a little, my own little spin on things. But I'm using these glass pieces. When I saw her use it, I thought, oh my God, what a great idea. Because I have all these glass pieces I used for a project many, many moons ago, and I haven't known what to do with them. So this is her idea that I am going to mimic. And now what she does is she transfers these little vintage images on the back of it, and then she'll adorn the sides with a metallic finish that looks like a metal. And so I've got some metallic waxes that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use these glass pieces. And then I think she uses parchment paper, so I went ahead because I want to try one of each, and I printed just some kind of French vintage little pieces on the parchment paper. But I'm also going to try something else using vellum. I got a piece of vellum here, and I want to use some of my custom stamps to kind of make my own little vintage like clip art kind of thing. So what I'm going to do, I've got some that I like, one that in particular that I made here from one of my little French lines, and it's just a little bird cage with a little tiny little bird on it. So I'm going to start off with that, and then I'm going to use some store-bought stuff too, because I really like the font print. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stamp my little bird stamp in here. So if you like to use stamps, you can try this method. So I'm just going to stamp my stamp on, and it's just a regular little stamp, as you can see. But what I like to do, and why I like this particular, it's Seven Gypsies line, it's all little French font, which is perfect for this. And I'm just going to add some font to kind of authenticate it a little more. So I've got a little French font there, and then I'm going to add a little bit there just to kind of look like it's, a little stamp of some sort. I'm going to do another one just using the store-bought images. And I've got this raven here that I really like, and I'm really just going to do the same thing. So I'm going to leave some space. I'm going to stamp my raven. And I'm going to use my French font here. This time I'm just going to kind of go across like so. Add a little bit of this, maybe going down this time. And it ends up kind of looking like a little vintage stamp. And then I'm going to do the same thing with a music note, because I am going to make a couple of these, so I want, some options. So do my music note. Again, just font right across it. just like so. Okay, so I've got 3 different images. I love it. Happy with it. And you can really do this with anything. Actually, while I'm at it, let me just do a couple more just so that I have it on hand. Where is... I'm missing one. I'm missing one. I'm going to use a new sheet. I'm missing one of my favorite stamps. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of make this one look like a stamp. Oops. I just want to have these on hand so I can make a couple of these embellishments. And then as I'm making journals, then there's the Avignon. I'll have some on hand, and I'm just going to do just some with font. There. My fingers are getting a little inky. Okay, let's put this away. Done with the ink. Just want to dry my hands off for a minute. Okay, so we'll let that one dry. The ink's going to absorb. So I've got my pieces. I've got all these different shapes. I've got my Mod Podge. I know I have a bigger bucket. Oh, it's down there. Okay, I should be okay with this. And I'm going to need a little brush. You can actually use your finger too. And then, so this is one of the ones that I made. And what you're going to do is just find one that kind of fits within the shape, like so. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to use my scissors because I don't want to work with the whole sheet. Let me just cut a couple of these off. Okay, so I've got a piece that fits perfectly there. I'm going to get some Mod Podge on the back. Okay, and then we're going to place that over the image. And as you place it down, you'll be able to see the image coming through. And you just want to let that sit and dry. Okay? And while that's drying, just go ahead and prep some other ones. So I'm going to do the raven here. I like this one. So after we end up making these little embellishments, they could be added onto your journal covers. You can embellish them within your journal pockets, whatever you want to do. She also suggests you can use them as jewelry. You can make jewelry out of it, which I thought was a super clever idea. Okay. Make sure that it is down there. So this is the vellum with my stamps. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. And then I'm going to try one now. These are the ones that I printed. And I've got all kinds of cool little images. Let me just do a little slice here though, because I want to use some of this for a pocket. in my journal, so I don't want to be tearing everything up. And it was very easy to print on my inkjet. So I just cut a piece of parchment paper that was 8.5 by 11, and I put it in my printer, and it pulled it fine, perfectly actually. So, but what I find with the parchment paper is that it's not as vibrant an image as if you were using a stamp. So just keep that in mind. I think I'm gonna, there's a little like French postage stamp here that I want to use. And I haven't quite figured out which image I'm going to use for my cover, because the cover of my journal is going to have a wedding picture of my mom and dad, who are from Maine and New Brunswick, which is where the Acadian culture is from. Oops. And I thought this stamp might be really cute, because the Acadians originated in France, and they were deported from France and kind of smuggled into America against their will over to like the Louisiana area. This is from what I understand. And most of them escaped Louisiana and migrated up north to Maine, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick area. And but they originated in France. So I kind of like that postage stamp representing, you know, like a trip or a journey from France. Like that's where they originated from. So it's quite significant. So I'm just going to do a couple here, because I'm, like I said, it's good to, you know, when you're making embellishments, just do a bunch of them. And then that way you have a lot to work with. I have a tiny little one here. And I also have another postage stamp that I think I'm going to use. I'm actually just going to cut this one out and paste it on. There we go. Okay, I'll let that dry. It's coming along. But I really, like, I'm just finding, and I'll show you. So when I did the stamps on the vellum, that's how it looks. It's very clear. You can see the image. And then this is the vellum one, so it's a little more subtle. So depending on the look that you're going for, that's what you're going to get. Okay. Let's see. I think I will do this one on here. And some of them you're not going to get the whole image on, which is okay, because, you know, that's what art is, right? Is just kind of framing your composition, taking the bits and pieces that you like. Not everything has to be included all the time. Okay. Got a little too much glue on that one. Put that in my pile. Okay, so I've got a nice white one here. I think I'll do the music note. That seems perfect for this one. So just, you know, try and pick out the shapes that are going to work. You know, this is a longer composition. It's got the music notes and the font going up, so it works really well. You can see that, and then we'll just end up cutting that out after. but they're going to look really cool after. And she did a really good job. Okay, I'm going to do a little mini one with this tiny little parchment print. Let that dry. Let's see what else I've got here. Les roses. There's a cute little bunny one that I'll use for this white one. I might have enough glue on here. Gotta make sure I'm in the frame here, you guys. My camera angle today is a little far from me. Okay. Little bunny. Yeah, so it's all going to depend on whether you want that subtle look or, you know, something that's really going to pop. I want to do one with just text. I think that's a good one here. Wait a sec. Okay. So I think you guys are getting the idea here. So we're just going to let those all sit aside and dry. Where is my first one? Okay, so it's starting to dry, you can tell, and it's lifting in some areas. So you just want to make sure you go back and you've got enough glue there. And I think what I'm going to do is just use the back and start pressing. And then I'm going to place it down so it's got a firm base. Okay. And whilst those dry, just going to put them aside here. We will work on the cover. So I'm going to measure the cover. And this one is 6 1/4 by just shy of 3 inches. So what I want to get a piece of paper, and I'm really just working through this with you guys because I haven't quite figured it out yet. I've got a couple of goodies here that I'm going to do. This is the image of my mom and dad. And I believe they got married in, God, I'll have to ask them. I think it was 1968 or 69, something like that. So as you can tell by the fashion, little vintage photo. And I've also, just so you know, in prep for this little book, is I have just printed out all kinds of vintage images in relation to my family and heritage, a little bit of history. So this is all going to go into the little journal. And I'm going to make some pages to go within the inside here. And we're going to do that in another video. But right now we're just going to focus on the cover. So I've got to figure out a main piece of paper that I'm going to put on here, and then I'll work through that. So I just have this package from something I was using, and I'm going to cut a piece to fit over top. So it was, oh, I can't even remember now. So we're doing 6. I think I'm going to go a little bit smaller so we could see the stitching of the leather on the outside. 6, or pleather, whatever it is. 6 by 2 3/4 will do. And it's just like a craft paper cardstock. I know it said 2 3/4. This looks awfully thin, but nope, that fits perfectly. Okay, good. And then the first thing I'm going to do is round the corners, because the corners of the case are rounded. And then this image is going to go on. Let me just trim the excess off. I'm just going to tear it. Get that kind of old vintage look. And then before I move forward, I think what I'm going to do, and I've been contemplating this too, I think I want to put, and I've got some smaller sleeves that I'll grab, but just to kind of make sure that the photo gets, you know, stays preserved, and especially with an 8-year-old, she's going to be looking at this over and over. I am going to put it into a sleeve, and I've got smaller sleeves, so let me grab one. I might actually have one here that I had some embellishments in. Dump those out. Yeah, I kind of like that, and it reminds me of, it's got like a little bit of that added vintage touch too. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm not taping it or anything, and I'm okay if the edges, I'm going to sew it. So the whole idea is I'm going to have my photo at the top. I'm going to end up having some kind of embellishment here. I'm not sure. I mean, my daughter really loves blue, so I think I might end up using the French stamp just to kind of commemorate. We'll see. We might use this. I haven't quite decided, but this will be an embellishment at the bottom, and we're going to have little buttons and stuff too. So before I go and sew this, there's a few things I want to do. One of them is just to kind of antique this photo a bit, and I've got some antique ink, vintage ink. If you bear with me one moment, let me grab it. I was going to use my wax, but I thought, I know not everybody uses the waxes, so I'll grab some ink. Okay, and it's a vintage, the vintage photo Distress Oxide inks from Tim Holtz. That's what I'm using, and I don't use anything fancy. I just use a little sponge. So I'm just going to kind of vintage up the edges. Just going to get it aged here. so it doesn't look like, even though I used a little bit of a tinted paper to print the photo on, it still looks too crisp and clean, so I gotta do something to it. And I do have the original photo, but I really don't want to use it. Okay, so get a little bit of scruffs on it. There we go. Doesn't that look good? And the original photo is actually black and white. It's not even sepia, so this is, it looks a little more vintage. All right. So then that can go back into the glycine bag. And I'm just going to center it. Now this, I want to add some distressed paper. And I'm contemplating, because I did print these kind of French icons onto this paper as well. So what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to tear like a little piece that'll go underneath, so you'll see a little bit of, you know, French wording on either side. And I'm just kind of doing this as we go, because I want you guys to see how, you know, I do my journaling. Because it is always just a process, right? So let me get a little bit of this off the bottom. I don't want it to cover exact, so I'm going to make it a little thinner because I want a little bit of that craft paper to show through. Oops. I just have to turn it here. Okay, so let me measure again. A little bit of the craft paper. I would go about there. Okay. Oops. Well, a little piece tore off, but I'm totally okay with that. So I like that. I'm going to tear a little bit of the top off here, so it's got a nice rustic edge. Okay. So this is going to go on here, and then their image is going to go on top, like so. And then I'm going to have whatever embellishment I choose just kind of over the top that way. So what I'm going to do at this point is literally, I think I'm going to actually just glue this portion down first onto my cardstock, and then I will sew the rest. And I like to leave just bits of everything showing so that you can see the layers. Okay, so I've got my sewing machine set up at one of my other tables. So I'm just gonna run over there and sew it. I don't think you guys need to watch me sew the piece on. I think you get the gist of it. So, but just keep in mind when you're doing it, layer. So you've got your cardstock, another piece on top, and then I put the photo in the glycine bag, and I'm just going to sew on top. So it's going to layer, 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 layer. we're just working on a lot of layers. Okay, I think there's something about this. I want to tear it. It's too perfect. There. That looks much better. Okay. So I will be back in 2 seconds. Okay, you guys, so I'm back and I've sewn the photo onto the cardstock. Okay, and that's going to go right onto the cover. But the first thing I'm going to do is I want to get a little bit of this vintage kind of like raw silk fabric down to cover the more contemporary material that I've got on this cover. Jeez, trying to cut a piece off, but it doesn't want to fray that way. Okay. So I'm going to have that underneath so there's silk sticking out, but I also want to put a piece of fabric here, and I think I'm going to use some lace. And I've got this kind of pearl beaded lace that I'll use. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to leave a little bit of that. And I think I will. And then I'll just use the lace to embellish on the other side. So just kind of trying to figure this out. I want this to fray just a little bit more. I'm just going to pull some threads. Okay, and then let me just figure this out here. Like that. I think that looks really cute. Okay, so what I'm going to use for this, I was thinking of sewing it on first, but the problem is that I don't want stitching showing all the way here, so I'm just going to use my Fabric Fusion, and you've seen me use this a lot. It's just fabric glue. You can use fabrics together, and I'm going to glue the fabric onto the case first, and then I'll glue the photo on. And this stuff works amazing. You'll love it. So get it on there. And I had a popsicle stick here not too long ago, but I don't know where it went. So I'm just going to use my finger to make sure that it's covering the entire surface. And I really like, you know, upcycling things that were used for another purpose. And it's funny because yesterday I broke the little ring on my cell phone cover. And this right here broke off, and I was really disappointed. My daughter says, "Oh, you have another case, Mommy." I said, "Really? Where?" And she pulled this one out of nowhere. I don't know where it was. She was probably playing with it. And, you know, I realized why I never used it. I wasn't a fan of it. So I thought, she says, "Oh, can I use it as a book for my dolls?" And I said, "Sure." And then I thought, wait a minute, why don't I make you a book out of it? Make you a little journal, little heritage journal. She really liked that idea. She's really excited. Of course, then my son was there and he heard that and he says, "I want one." So I'm going to have to figure out another way to create another one for my son. But you can see how it goes down so well, and I'm just using bone folder just to kind of, you know, get it into the grooves, because this is another dimensional aspect of the layering. And then this is going to go right on top. That's going to look so good. And then I'm just going to take this ribbon, and I will do something to the inside cover, but I want to get some of this, you know, lacy, pearly ribbon to cover the band on this side. And just trying to figure out if I'm going to go all the way up or just a little bit here. I think I'll just do the little bit. And this is not actually vintage ribbon. I'm pretty sure I got it at Michael's or Walmart, something like that. I was working on another project, but it has all the little components of, you know, the vintage reminiscent with the pearls. And it fits so well with the wedding picture that I put of my parents. So we're going to let that dry. That's going to go on there. And I'm actually going to use the Fabric Fusion too, because you can use the Fabric Fusion to affix fabric to any surface. Doesn't have to be fabric to fabric. I use it many times. This stuff is fabulous. You can also use, you know, tacky glue. Just kind of doing the same method to get it nice and coated so there's no pockets. Get a little bit more in the middle. Come on. Okay. I'll get that down. Gosh, this is looking so good, you guys. More over here. It's sticking well at the bottom, but the top says no. And I do not want this coming off. So there we go. Okay. Just gonna let that dry. That is looking so great. Isn't that amazing? And then we're going to get all, you know, way more embellishments on there. So let's see. Let's see how this is doing. It feels pretty dry. Okay, so then all you got to do now is just peel. Whoops, see, I didn't have enough glue. So I didn't have enough Mod Podge on there. And what's happening is it's lifting. So I'm going to be patient. I don't want to rip it off, but you can see the part that I did tear off. See how the words come through? But I really want more wording. So just go ahead and reapply. I've done these kind of transfers before with other surfaces, wood, not glass. But, you know, every surface is different. Just maybe, you know, get your bone folder and really push it down. Make sure that it adheres to that glass. And then you want to make sure it's completely dry before you start tearing it off, or it will pull up. Okay. So I'm going to let that one dry. Let's see. Oh, okay. So look at the, this is the one with the parchment paper. Just peels right off. And then you see the transfer. Do you see that? So now I know why she used the parchment paper. Is it just peels right off so easily. The oops, I'm just pushing this one down a bit more. The one with the vellum definitely doesn't pull right off. In fact, it proves to have some problems. So that's good to know. There you go. Hence why I guess you follow the directions. So what I'm just going to kind of do a jimmy flicks on this one then. And it's so funny because I've done this before. It works so well on wood. It works well on paper. But when you're using the glass, there's definitely a reason she, you know, used the parchment paper. So with this one, what I'm going to do, and I'm pretty sure you can still do the stamping on parchment. I'm going to try that out. But with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end up tearing because I don't want to lose that image. So I'll just tear away the excess on this one. And it's okay because I'll be gluing it down. And I'll just cut away the excess. So it's kind of good that this happened and you guys are, you know, able to see why you use different materials. And I have to apologize. I didn't really experiment before I do the video because, like I said, I've done this many times on other surfaces. So I thought for sure, oh, this is going to work. Okay, so it's still a really cute embellishment. And because the vellum paper's underneath, it's not showing. You can still see through it if you did have a pattern. Where's another one that I used? Okay, so here's another one with the wax paper that I just tear off. It just comes off so smoothly. The only problem that I find with the wax paper is the image is very subtle, which I'd like more of a solid image. So I'm actually going to redo this one on wax paper. But what the cool thing is through the oopsie, I actually created something neat. So the glue dried, and because there was a texture on the glass, I got a really like bumpy texture embellishment right here. So I'm just going to end up using this in my journal like that. But yeah, as far as the wax paper ones, I'm just going to use, I know for next time. See, so the idea is that you're going to see the images underneath. So it's transparent. Which one's this? It's the wax paper. But it's so subtle. It's just a little too subtle for what I was looking for. But it's still really cute. I'm still going to make a couple just to show you. So let me just go ahead and get this one out, and I'll show you how we finish these off. So there's nothing wrong with just cutting with the vellum so that you see the image. That's what I've done for these ones. And this one too. I like this one. Okay, isn't that pretty still? So pretty. Okay, so then what you do now, I'm just going to put this aside, it's going to dry, is you've got your metallics, and I've got aged brass and rich copper. So I'm going to use aged brass on this. Just going to take the wax, and you're just going to wax the edges. So you get that kind of nice antique look. Look at that. How pretty. Isn't that nice? I mean, when I saw her do this, I was thinking, ah, so clever. I wish I would have thought of that. I cannot take credit for that. Got to give the credit to Nick the booksmith. Okay. And then look how adorable that is. And then once I get my little embellishment on top, it just adds for a nice little added touch. I mean, it really pulls things to the next level. And I love this aged brass with the blue. I'm going to do another one. And I'll do one in copper too, so you can see. I'm just in love with this wax. This one's by Art Alchemy. I've been using it since last couple months, December. I just love it. Look at that. Okay, so let's try a copper. Copper's really nice too with the blue. And I can see how these would make really pretty necklaces. And so you just want that wax to dry. It will dry up. Start kind of solidifying. There you go. There's your cute little embellishments. Should I do this one in? I'll do this one in copper or something different. I do like the look of both of them. And the nice thing is you can bring some of that copper color over top of your glass, like I did in some areas here, like especially if it's irregular, and it really gives that 3D look. You can see underneath. Isn't that cute, you guys? Oh my gosh. I saw that, I was like, yep, I need to do that. Okay, now I am just figuring out, I've got to figure out which one I'm going to use for my journal. Am I going to use a little raven? Oh, I got a little too much on there. Okay. Raven, nah, that's not really my parents. I think I'm going to use this little kind of stamp I made, and it has the word love, so it's really iconic. Oh, this isn't drying well. Takes some time on certain materials. Okay, so I'll leave that there. Let me get my... I want to use my E6000 for this because I really don't want it coming off. So let's see, which way are we going to put it? We're going to put it that way. Let's get a little E6000 on the back because I do not want this coming off. And you know, with E6000, you guys have used it. You know this stuff is amazing. It does not come off. You can use it for anything. Concrete, metals. Okay, get that on there. And then I want to get a couple other little embellishments, but I wasn't really sure what to use. And I should have probably put something like this underneath, or a portion of it. Let me see what else I've got. My girlfriend Robin McClendon, she gave me a couple little antique pieces here. So, I mean, my daughter will really like that. I've got a couple little pearls. I'll just tear a little piece of fabric. I think I'll just tear a little piece of fabric like that. I can still lift this, kind of tuck it underneath. There we go. Get a little more of this because I want to make sure that doesn't come off. So just a rough little piece of fabric. And then I'm going to get this gem on here. I'll put it right on the corner. And then I'll put a little bit of E6000 so I can get some pearls in here. I've got a nice big fat pearl here that I'll use. A couple different colors and shapes. Oh, this is perfect. Just a little cluster. And my daughter will like that. You know how little girls are. Mine anyway. She's very sporty. She loves her sporty clothes, but she also likes a little bit of bling. Anything to add a little bit of prettiness. So there's my finished cover of my new journal. Turned out so well. I'm so happy with it. I just have to have patience with this ribbon back here because she just don't want to stay on right now. And then I'm going to do another video that's going to show you how I create the inside, but how adorable is that? And then when you open this, it's going to be a little journal, and I'm going to have pages that come out. There's little pockets in there. I'm just trying to finish off the cover of this book. And what I did, and I'm sorry I didn't tape it, but I actually sewed a button on. This is going to be something that's going to seal the strap. It's just another piece of fabric here. Okay. Just kind of leaving that on so I don't lose it. So what I'm going to do with this spine is I decided not to cover in fabric. I just literally cut a strip of my eco-dyed paper that had some little vintage images on it, and I'm going to cover that leather piece back here with it. So I just wanted to show you how I did it, and I did add a little bit of that aged brass to it just to kind of give it like a little, to complement, you know, the little embellishment on the front and other little parts of the journal. Plus there's gold around here too. So I'm just literally going to use tacky glue to apply it. And what I want to do to start is just really make sure it's in the crease first. And then I'm going to get more down here, but I'm not going to fully get the glue all the way on yet, because I just want to make sure that that tacky glue is, or sorry, that the paper really gets into the crease so that it wraps around. So I'm just going to apply it like such, kind of pushing it down. This way I can see it and make sure it's in place. And then I can just do a little bit of the time. If you have an old bone folder that you can do, just to kind of like press it in the crease and make sure it gets in there good. And then you can start kind of pressing it down. And then at this point, this is where I'm going to add the rest of the glue here on the leather that's exposed, or the leather, or whatever material they used. It's not real leather. It's just synthetic. Okay. And get lots of glue down because I don't want this puppy coming up. Make sure it goes right to the edge. Okay. And then just start pressing down firmly but gently. You know, make sure this doesn't lift up. Just take your time. You can use your bone folder to kind of start pressing it down. Okay, feels secure. Let me get a little piece of paper towel here to make sure the glue, I can wipe the glue away. Okay, so that's nice and down. We're going to let that dry. And then we're going to end up, once it's dry, attaching the fabric over here so that it can close on the book. So that worked out nicely, but I'm going to keep it bent because I just want it to dry. So I'm just going to leave it, and we'll see you back in a few seconds here because I'm going to resurface the inside. If you want to prep for yours, what I've done is I cut a piece of my vintage paper to the size of my inner cover, and we're just literally going to glue that in. So it'll look like that. Okay, so it's not the inside back cover, it's just the inside cover here. And there is a pocket here, but I find it more of a nuisance because it's too hard to get in, and this is paper. I don't want to rip it, so I'm just going to cover it. I've got enough pockets in the inside. So we'll see you shortly. I'll let that dry. Okay, so the back is nice and dry now. It turned out amazing. It looks fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I am just now going to glue the inside piece to the cover. This was leather. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue some paper on there using tacky glue. And then we can let that sit and dry as well. I need to put a pin. My glue was exposed there for a minute, so it got all closed up. Okay, try that again. Get some glue on there. So you can do whatever you want in the inside cover. You can leave it if you like that look. You can put fabric. I'm just using a piece of my eco-dyed paper that has the vintage stuff on it. Oh my gosh, I'm lost for words. Sorry about that. Okay, I thought I had a piece of plastic around, but I don't, so it's probably not the best thing to use a piece of paper, but sometimes you just gotta wing it. I just want to smear it and really make sure it's on the edge, along the edge, so that it really adheres. Get a little bit more along the edge here because I just don't want it to lift up or tear with time. Okay. So make sure I have enough glue down here. All right. Okay, so I'll get my piece of paper down. I already cut it to size and rounded the edges off. I'm just going to take my bone folder, start pressing down. Oh no, I didn't just do that. I just tore it. I was really pressing too hard. That's okay, I can fix it. Okay. So just be gentle. I certainly wasn't. There we go. So doesn't that look cool? It's so pretty. And then my book is going to fit right into here. And what I'm going to do, it's probably going to be one of the last things I do, but I'm also, so I've cut a piece of paper for the backing, and I've got a piece of cardboard. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put a ribbon between the cardboard, excuse me, and the paper. And this is going to end up going here so that when I have my book in there, I can actually tie it with the ribbon so it stays together. And then I'll also have the additional clip on the outside. So it's just little extra things that I'm going to do to keep everything secure. But I'm going to wait till near the end of the book when I'm done completion to do the back portion of it. And the reason why I like to do it is this is the first time that I'm using a cell phone case to create a journal. And sometimes I just find the more and more I process the structure of it, the more I can come up with, you know, a better way of building it. So I had this in mind how I was going to do it, but as I go, I keep coming up with new ideas. So I'm not going to, the back of the book here is not going to have anything on it because this is going to end up adhering to it. And I'm actually going to glue everything into the book. So this won't be able to come out. You'll just read it like this. Because I don't want any excuse me, anything to get lost, and it will be functionable. It'll be easy to read. It's turning out really nice. I'm really happy with it. So just so you know, that's how it's moving forward. But the inside cover is done. Now the only thing I have to do is glue this strap on, which I'm gonna do now because I want it to set. And I'm going to use some, trying to figure out, I think I'm going to use my Fabric Fusion because it does work so well with the fabric. So all I'm going to do is I've already sewn my button on and this comes apart, but I'm actually just going to glue this portion of it. And once it's glued and dried, I'll show you how it works. I just don't want to undo it at the moment, but let me just get some glue on there so you can see, you know, where and how I glue it. So we're doing the same thing. We're just kind of getting some glue in the crease and, oops. Oh, you know what? On this portion of it, I do have to put glue a little bit further down because I've got the other side tied down. So we'll get a little glue there. I've got glue in the crease. And then we're just going to make sure it stays nice and secure. And we're just going to press that fabric into the seam there. Okay, and we're just going to sit and let that dry. And I didn't do it, I did leave some give here because the book's going to be pretty chunky, so I don't want it to really squish everything in the inside. So I'm just going to let that dry. That's going to sit and dry, and you'll see that that Fabric Fusion just really sticks it in place there good. So all you have to do is sit and wait now. That's it. But we're coming along real nice. So yeah, I'll see you shortly with when it's all dry, and I'll show you more of how that construction works. Okay, so this is dry. It's all dry now. Our cover is completely finished. My book is completed. I am going to, now I want to glue because I want this permanent in here. Let me just get some of these little extras out for the moment. Just want to make sure I get that glued down just right. And then we will be completely done our journal. So let's get some tacky glue. You want to make sure you got a good glue to glue the book. I want to secure the book into the cover. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can just have it like place it in there if you want, but because I'm giving it to my daughter who's 8, you know, I don't want the pieces, like the book, to come out and something happen or tears. Or something to get lost. I just want it all to be stuck together. So I'm getting a lot of glue on here. Okay. I'm just going to use my finger to spread it. I want to make sure it's right to the edge. Paper towel. Okay, so let's place this baby in there. It should fit right in, nice and snug. Make sure like your whole book fits in there in its center. And once you have it where you want it, just kind of bring those extra pages out. Oh, what's going on here? Something stuck. Okay, and then, you know, you can get your bone folder and start pressing down to make sure all the edges are down. And of course you're going to let that dry, but look at that. You've got your whole little heritage journal, all the 3 segments of it, of this accordion style, right in there. But what I'm going to do is I want to just press that down, and I am going to leave it to dry. I did put the ribbon in. It's already glued into the back cover, so I'm going to tie it securely just to, you know, help it stay down nice and tight while the glue dries. I've got the little ribbon there. It doesn't matter if the cover's not on it, but look at, is that not the most adorable little journal that is resurfaced or, you know, upcycled from a phone case? And then I've got the tie here with a little button to secure it all in, and we've got a heritage journal. So make sure you guys subscribe so you can see the reveal. I'm going to reveal the complete journal, and if you want to follow along with all the yummy pages on the inside to see how I created this journal, make sure you Join me over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Yvette St.Amant. That's YVETTESTAMANT. And you'll get all the tutorials for every page. And you can do one customized to your own heritage. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on my next journal adventure.